bass.
Welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm. This is the interview show that gets deep in the pocket with contemporary music's foremost masters of the groove. I am your host, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine. If you enjoy this programming, subscribe to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube, which is where Truth and Rhythm lives, and be an advocate by spreading the word among fellow funk, jazz, and R&B music lovers. Join Truth and Rhythm's membership program through Patreon. You can also submit a direct donation to the cause anytime at funkandstuff.net. At that site, you can also purchase the book Everything's on the One, The First Guide of Funk. Shop for official Truth and Rhythm and Funk and Stuff merchandise, and use the Amazon links for all of your online purchases, which allocates a percentage to this show. For those of you who go the extra step in supporting the show, you have my heartfelt gratitude for allowing us to continue to shine the light on those special artists whose quest is to find truth in rhythm.
I'm delighted to welcome to Truth and Rhythm iconic jazz and R&B drummer, composer, arranger, producer, and bandleader Norman Connors. Best known for a string of 1970s hit collaborations with Michael Henderson, Carne and Phyllis Hyman, like You Are My Starship, Valentine Love, and We Both Need Each Other. He charted 6 consecutive top 40 R&B albums between 1975 and 1980. Through 1988, he notched 9 top 30 R&B hits and remains active recording and performing. In fact, he's been working on a new album called Royalty and is doing shows with folks like Marva King and Bobby Lyle. Norman, thank you for joining me. Good to see you.
All right. I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic. And we were talking just before I started recording. You're in Houston, so Houston is home base for you?
For a while, for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
But I'm still a New Yorker, always.
Okay. And originally from Philly, right?
I'm originally from Philadelphia, PA.
Yeah. So, Norman, thank you for doing the show. It's much appreciated. The fans are going to love it. Tell us a little bit about what first drew you way back in Philadelphia. What first drew you to music and drums specifically? I know when I talk to drummers, it seems like the story's the same. You start banging on whatever you can as a little kid, and then it just develops from there.
I used to bang on my mother's table with forks and knives, and up to about 4 or 5 years, she says, I'm going to get you some drums. And she got me my first set of drums, a white Ludwig set. And so I stuck with those drums and played them and studied and for I guess year in and year out, 7-8 hours a day in the summertime. In the wintertime, maybe 4 hours a day because I had to go to school. So I did that, and I also tap danced. I was a tap dancer too. Well,
wow, that's a lot of rhythm between the two. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of rhythm. I used to entertain. I used to play at my mother's parties. She'd throw a party, and we always had a piano. I'd get the piano and sing, and then I would play the drums, and then I would tap dance. Jump up on the table and tap, jump off, do the split, all that.
They must have enjoyed that entertainment.
Yeah. And right down the street, who lived right down the street was Bill Cosby. He lived about 4 doors away from me. In the summertime, I see him every day. I used to hang with his brother, Russell.
Okay.
I was in and out of his house, and I played with. I started playing young. Lee Morgan was Lee Morgan. The trumpet player Lee Morgan was in the area, and I would go to their rehearsals. Him, McCoy Tyner, Spanky DeBress, and Lex Humphreys, drummer. So they were my idols at the time when I was like 7, 8, 9 years old.
Mm. At what point did you know that that was going to be your calling?
When they played in my elementary school. When they played my elementary school, I fell in love. I said, "This is it for me." And like I said, they used to rehearse right across the street from me every day, and they all became leaders and top jazz musicians of the world.
Who were some of your idols on drums coming up? Was it, the typical Blakeys and Roach and those kind of guys, or what?
My idols and my mentor was Max Roach. He became my idol and mentor. I loved Art Blakey, but Max was my mentor. And I loved Roy Haynes and Philly Joe Jones was part of the Philadelphia. He was from Philly. And so those are the guys that I took after. And when I turned 15, I played with Billy Paul, You and Mrs. Jones.
Hmm. So was that your first? What would you say was your first big break?
My first big break. Well, it depends on how you look at it. My first big break and one of my first exciting experiences was when I got a chance to play with John Coltrane. I played with John Coltrane. Elvin Jones had went to jail for something, and the people at Pep's Musical Bar in Philadelphia They called me, and they told John there's this drummer that comes around all the time. You'd think they thought he would like me. So I got a chance to play with Jimmy Garrison, McCoy Tyner, John Coltrane, and that's when I met Pharoah Sanders. And I played 2 days with them. And John didn't talk much. He would practice and play all the time. He would never take the saxophone out of his mouth. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Jimmy Garrison told me that John liked me. McCoy Tyner told me that he liked me. So they called me for a gig in New York at the Village Vanguard. So those were the most exciting, I would say the most exciting experiences in my entire life at that particular time.
Were you nervous?
Oh my God. Nervous. I was more than nervous. I thought that I didn't get the gig because they started off with a song called Impressions, and they played it so fast, and they played it so exciting and heavy. And I thought, but when they played My Favorite Things, I was in there. I know I had it then. So that was my most exciting time. My other most exciting time, I met Miles Davis when I was 13. My uncle took me to the Showboat, which was a block away from the Peps. The musicians used to come to Peps for a week, for one matinee on Monday and Saturday, and they would come to the Showboat. Same thing. So a lot of times, John Coltrane would be at Peps, and Miles Davis would be at the Showboat. So I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Miles. I met him when I was 13, looked at me, I was dressed like him, and he fell to the floor. Looked at it, he couldn't believe I was 13, I probably looked about 11. And I had drumsticks in my hand, And I said, Mr. Davis, my name is Norman Connors, and I would like to play with you. He fell to the floor. And he said, if you ever come to New York, just knock on my door. So when I moved to New York when I was around 17, 18, I knocked on his door. And
Did he fall to the floor again?
No, not then. He used to call me Little Philly. Little Philly, you live in New York now? I said, yep, I'm here. So,
wow. So when you moved to New York, about what year was that, do you think?
it had to be late 60s, maybe 68, 68, 67.
Yeah. So just the incredible golden age of the Jazz Cats. Just what a place to be.
I got a chance to play with it. Archie Shepp called me for a record date, album called The Magic of Juju. And I was only about 17. That was my first big record date.
What was it like for you being in the studio for the first time?
Oh my God, I was scared to death. But came through. Once I started playing, I was okay. And that was a pretty big record during that time. So people like Archie Shepp, John Coltrane, and Pharoah Sanders, and Sunrise, they liked me very much. So I got a chance to play with them. Not John Coltrane, I went to play with him that one time at the Village Vanguard. But Archie Shepp, when John died, I was playing with Archie Shepp at a club called Slugs in the East Village. So I got pretty much good experience. I played with Sam Rivers, me and Susan McBee and his trio. And my first gig in New York, I went on the road. I went on the road with Jack McDuff, the organ player. And I got a chance to play with Charlie Earlin, Jackie McLean, and Bobby. He had Bobby Hutcherson in the band, and Woody Shaw, and Risha Moncur III, and it was a great band, great experience. And I played with Jack McLean's son, Renee. So I was getting a lot of experience.
Sounds like it. What do you think that they liked about your style, or was it how you carried yourself, or was it how you kept time, or what was it about you?
Well, I was always sharp, clean. Always wore nice suits and sport coats and leather coats. And I was very clean because my mother worked at a manufacturer of GQ type clothes. And they liked the way I carried myself. And I had they said I had one of the biggest and better IQs in Philly. So I was a very smart young man. And I studied a lot. And I practiced a lot. And I was a gentleman. And I still am.
You were smart, but not a smart aleck. There's a big difference, you know. You took direction pretty well, I'm sure. It sounds like
Directions very well. And Miles became my mentor, and Max Roach was my mentor. I would spend a lot of time with Miles in the daytime, and in the evening I would go to Max Roach house. So
wow, that's quite a schooling there.
I was around some heavy company at a young age.
Wow.
And they all liked me. Something about me that they liked. So it was all good.
And then you got with Pharoah Sanders. You became a regular in his band, right?
Yeah, well, I thought I was going to get the gig with Train. And he had one drummer, Rashid Ali, but he wasn't satisfied, I don't think. So I was really waiting for that job. When I moved to New York, I either wanted to work with Miles or John Coltrane. And I ended up with Train. Miles, uh, I played a lot of polyrhythms and cross rhythms, and Miles felt that was a little too busy for the way he wanted to play. But he told me, don't change my style. He liked the way I played, but not for him. He said I would be perfect for John Coltrane.
Mm.
So I played with those kind of people. When Train died, Farrell called me. I went on the road with Farrell. And we played the Village Vanguard, and all the record companies would come to the Village Vanguard every time we played. And I used to play with my shirt off, and they had their eyes on me, and they offered me record deals, Atlantic Records and Buddha Records. I went with Buddha because Buddha told me that I could play anything I want, and I could. They would make sure whoever I get, they would back it. And they told me I was with Miles all the time, so they said if you could get Miles, we'd give you an extra $100,000. Now I asked Miles, and Miles told me to slow down. He said, "You just got it." So I slowed down a little bit. I couldn't slow down. So anyway, I went with Buddha.
Was Neil Bogart involved in that, or did he play a role when you went to Buddha? Neil Bogart, was he part of that?
Yeah, Neil Bogart was there, and yeah, Art Cass, Neil Bogart, yeah. And my first album, I had some great guys on it. Herbie Hancock, Stanley Clarke.
Herbie Hancock.
Huh?
I don't know if you can see the shirts, Herbie Hancock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Stanley Clarke, Airto, Carlos Garnett on tenor, Gary Bartz on alto, Lawrence Killian on percussion, and I had some great people on the first album. And the first album was #1 in Japan. So
incredible people. I mean, to get those guys on your debut, just unbelievable.
Your debut, and I was the youngest. I could get away with murder because I was the youngest one. But it came out nice. And we went to we did 10 concerts in Japan. My first album out, and that was some great experience. I took an all-star group with Gary Bartz, Reggie Workman on bass, Eddie Henderson on trumpet, who was on my first album too, and people were playing from Philadelphia.
Did you mention Stanley Clarke? I know he was in there somewhere too.
Right? Stanley Clarke played with me for about the first 4 albums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he played with me first. I feel that I discovered Stanley. He was one of my discoveries. Him and Mike Webb, flute player. And they were both from Philly. I got to New York before them. They came after me.
Okay. So at that time, Norman, what were your aspirations or goals in music? Did you want to become, a solo star? Did you want to be a band leader? What were you looking to do?
Well, I was always a band leader. Even when I was in Philadelphia, before I moved to New York, I had a band. And I had a band, but I also played with, some of the great musicians before me, big time musicians. So I always wanted to be a band leader. I wanted to be like Miles. Miles was Miles. I wanted to be me, but be popular like Miles and travel the world. And I did.
Do you have a funny story regarding Miles, or just a unforgettable memory of some kind you could share?
I can write a book on Miles. I was with him all the time. I was always at the house. And He was incredible. The notes he picked and that he played. I was there when he practiced, and he was a boxer. I went to the gym with him, and I would go to the gym with him, and he would train. And if he didn't play the trumpet and wanted to be a boxer, I think he would have been a champion. That's how good he was. And I would dry him off. I would run errands for him and things like that. And so it was just a great experience being with Miles Davis. I didn't play with him, but I was always with him. And he introduced me to Duke Ellington.
Did you get any sense of why or how he was so driven to keep changing and just creating new and not staying still?
Well, he was a very unique musician, and his mother and father were very rich, so he didn't have to pay those type of dues. They used to send him money, and he became who he was. He went through some changes with drugs and stuff, but he licked it. And he was just an amazing person. I liked most things about him. Most things. And so I felt very blessed. Because being with Miles Davis and Max Roach and Archie Shepp and Pharoah Sanders, being with Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, they all played on my records. First record, second record, third record.
What's one or two of the best lessons that you learned from those mentors you had?
Well, I was very similar to, out of all those guys, I was very similar. I think I was very similar to Herbie Hancock from an intellectual standpoint. And he was very astute and very, he was just one of the greatest piano players in the world to me, him and McCoy Tyner. So I learned everything from him. I studied them. I studied them and studied them, and until I came into my own. And when I kept recording, every record got better, and every record that I did got better and sold more. Each one sold more. And then my style started changing after about the fourth record, when I got Gene Carne. I had Dee Dee Bridgewater at the beginning. I always had a vocalist. That made me a little different than a lot of the guys. They didn't have vocalists. They were just all instrumental. I was instrumental like them, but I always had a vocalist. So Dee Dee Bridgewater was my first vocalist, and we got a hit, and then she went with the Wiz. I had a song called Love from the Sun that was very popular. Then I got Gene Carne, and then we played, and we went around the world. Went to Europe, and we went everywhere. And Gene was very popular. She became one of the biggest singers in that type of music. And then after Gene, I got Phyllis Hyman.
Yeah, it's quite a run of vocalists.
we went around the world a couple of times, and by that time, I was selling from 300,000 records to maybe 800,000.
What inspired you to change, to move more towards, R&B? Was it purely to just
because the
more people?
R&B was in me. If I wasn't a jazz musician, I wanted to be a Delphonic. really. I was so amazed with their voices, the lead singer, Pooji. So I wanted to be a Delphonic or Temptation or something like that. So I had all that type of music in me. Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles. I had all that in me. But I was John Coltrane crazy. But I had all these other things in me. I loved Aretha, and I loved a lot of I loved Gloria Lynn, and I loved a lot of the people that was coming up, singers. I loved Class 95ths. I loved Frank Sinatra. I loved him a lot. I liked Elvis Presley. I liked that. I like different things for myself. So that's just the way I was. And I put all those type of things in my music. I had a certain style, and as I kept recording, my style became very popular, and I started selling millions of records.
Oh yeah. Well, I first, became aware of you with Valentine Love and, that whole era because I was in, junior high or high school around then. And I mean, those were just some amazing, fantastic tracks. I loved them. And how did you first cross paths with Phyllis Hyman?
She moved to New York from Florida, and she was playing. She was working for the door at a club called Rush Brown's, and one of my friends, um, Richie Clay, called me and said, "Wow, I just saw a singer in this club, and she seemed like she belonged with you. She belonged with you." So I took a fast cab to the club. And I heard Phyllis sing about 5 songs. And I said, "Thank you, God. Thank you, God." Because Jean had went to Philly International to record, and she wouldn't be able to make all my gigs because she was starting a career on her own. So when she left, I didn't know what to do. But when I heard Phyllis Hyman, that was the key. So I took her in the studio. I told her after she sung, she had a break. I said, "I'm gonna come and get you because I'm working on a new album." And Michael Henderson is singing, and he wrote some of the songs. And I got this one song in mind, which was "Betcha by Golly Wow," the Stylistics covered. I think that I have an arrangement on it that I think will it will become worldly. So I got with Odaji, keyboard player, who I convinced him to move to New York from Buffalo, New York, and he did a great arrangement on it. And I had the whole thing in mind with Gary Bosch playing the alto, and we stretched it out, and it became a massive hit. And it made Phyllis Hyman go from unknown to known quick within 6 months. In 6 months, she was a big star.
Yeah. So the first record that you kind of changed up was Slewfoot, I would say in '74. And was Slewfoot a nickname or what was that?
Well, Slewfoot was a song that Reggie Lucas, who was a guitar player with Miles for a minute, and he played with me, him and Tume. He had this song, and I liked it. It was very different, and he called it Slewfoot. And as a matter of fact, the title cut, and he took the photo. The photo of me being Slewfoot, I didn't like. I didn't like the photo, but people liked it, and so that's all. It was just a very unique song that I liked. Very rhythmic, very different, and it was in between. It would fit in between jazz and R&B.
Mm-hmm. I felt like you were kind of setting the pace in a way, doing that transition from jazz to R&B, because so many other jazz artists in that era from late 70s, really got a lot more into R&B, like George Duke and Stanley Clarke, and so many of them. Herbie did more mainstream. So I feel like you were kind of on the leading edge of that.
Well, by being with Miles so much and being influenced by him, he was changing. He never played the same thing. He was playing straight ahead for a while, and he was real popular with that. He played the standards, and whatever he played, he was just great. But he started hearing some other things. It was more fusion type rock R&B. That was his style, not R&B, rock jazz. I was more R&B jazz.
Mhm.
I put the R&B things in my music. I was from Philly, and like I said, I loved the Delphonics, all those singing groups, Blue Magic, Stylistics, Harold Melvin, the Blue Notes. I love the Temptations. I love the Whispers. I love Stevie Wonder. I love Lionel Richie. I had all that in me,
Yeah.
along with the jazz thing. So I put it all together, stir it up into soup, stir the soup up, and I had a style.
Unfortunately, ended up with some good songs too. Did you meet Michael Henderson through Miles?
Yeah. Well, I was with Miles. I was with Miles when he got Michael Henderson. He took Michael Henderson from Stevie Wonder.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When did it become apparent that Michael could sing like that, though? I mean, he was obviously a bass player, but then he could sing really well.
Well, I told him to sing. He didn't think he could sing. I told him to sing. We took almost 40 takes on You're My Starship.
Wow.
He got mad at me. But when it came out, it was selling so many records per month, it became a big, gigantic hit. He started talking to me again. He stopped talking with me because I made him take so many takes. But then he called me every day once he found out the song was a hit. And so Michael was not a singer, but he was a great bass player. Miles felt that he was the greatest electric player, bass player. So that's what Miles thought. That's
It's
how he,
funny because his singing kind of overshadowed that in the later 70s when he started doing solo records and having hits, and you kind of launched that career for him.
yeah. Well, we made a lot of magic together, and we traveled around the world together. We was always together. He was my partner, and he had about 10 hits. He was a great writer. He wrote about 10 hits. I did about 6 of them. He did 4 of them, and they all hit. They all went gold and platinum, and the Starship. 150 rappers sampled it.
Hmm.
150 rappers sampled Starship. So it's still selling. It's still selling. I'm still collecting royalty checks on it. And it's all a part of Sony and all that. So, and we play it every day. Ever since I recorded it, we've been playing on every gig, no matter where I go, whether it's in London or Italy or Paris, we play that Starship. Every city in America, we play You Are My Starship.
When I heard those songs,
And Bishop of Golliwow.
when I heard those songs on the radio, then they were hits, and I assumed, initially I thought Norman Connors was singing. I thought you were singing, because I didn't know. And then when I found out, this whole world opened up to me of you as a jazz drummer, and Michael coming from playing bass, and it helped me discover the whole thing. But originally, I thought you were singing.
Yeah. I mean, I could sing it. I mean, at that time, I could sing it. But Michael, we got him in shape. So he sung it. People loved him. We got the big hit on it. It was one of the most important songs in music, in that genre of music. And so everything worked out good.
Absolute classic for sure. Norman, do you have one memory from being on the road at the height of your success that is most unforgettable, or just something that stands out?
One of the things that stand out when we did the Montreux Jazz Festival, and Pharoah Sanders was my special guest, and we turned it out. And I'm very proud of all that. We turned out that. I played all the theaters in the round. I feel good about that. We played they had theaters that swivel around. I played every one in the different big cities. I was happy about that. I was happy when we played in Paris, and I was happy when we played Rome. We played the Berlin Jazz Festival. We played everywhere, and I was happy with that. In London, we played at Royal Festival Hall, and their favorite song from me was not Starship. They liked it. Their favorite song from me was Mother of the Future, a song that they called Mother of the Future that Carlos Garnett wrote, and Gene Carnes sung it. Carlos took the solo, and Ron Carter played bass on it. It was an amazing song. So we still do that song.
Okay.
London loves it. When we play it in London, 3,000 people would stand up and dance. 3,000.
Nice. You know, Norman, as the time wore on, like in the late 80s and into the 80s, I mean, some of those records you did, you had so many people involved. I mean, there was one, I think I counted like about 50 musicians were on one of those records with Arista. What was it like? What was it like putting that together?
This Is Your Life. My first album for Arista. I had about 45, 50-piece orchestra with strings and, violins and violas, cellos, harp. I mean, and a great arranger from Detroit, and a couple of arrangers. And it was a great song, and it went top 10, and was Clive Davis's favorite song for a long time. And the cover was nice. I was on the beach with a girl and a horse, one of the prettiest horses in the world, and the girl wasn't bad. And that was a great album. I did about 100 concerts off that album. We did 100
What beach is that, Norman?
Malibu.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in Malibu.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on the other screen. So,
yeah, that was a big record. And that's one of my favorite records. I like the songs on the record.
Yeah, I mean, you kept it going right through a lot of people didn't make it going from 70s to 80s, with the disco and all that, and things changed, but you kept going. And Mr. C was also a great record.
Yeah. So I'm still going. I have a new album coming out in about another month.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to that. Tell us about the album. Who's involved? What inspired it?
It's called Royalty. I have People Bryson singing on it, and I have Bobby Lau who wrote a couple of songs on it, and Gerald Albright played on it. Guy Bartz played on it. I put some of my classic hits on the album, like Starship and Bet You Golly Wow. So Guy Bartz is on it, Pharoah Sanders is on it. My Starship Orchestra that I maintained and kept throughout my career, they're on it. And I have a new singer. She's not new, but she's new with us. Her name is Marva King. She's been traveling with us, and her song's going to be the first single. No One Could Love You More. Phyllis sung it about 20-something years ago. We did it again with Marva. And Marva did it in her own way. I mean, she could sing like Phyllis, but she didn't want to. And she didn't. She got her own voice. And she's a very pretty girl. Phyllis is very pretty. And they all pretty. And they sing pretty. And they sing greatly. So I love all of them.
Yeah, I love Marva too. She's been on this show. How long did it take you to put this project together?
I've been working on my last record about 10 years. I've been working on this album for 10 years, and it's finally coming out.
That must be gratifying for you.
I think 10 years ago was Star Power.
Yeah. Well, more than 10 years. Yeah.
10 years ago. Right, Marie?
A little more. It was a little more.
So what would success look like for you with the new record? What are you hoping it achieves?
My thing is it's going to be a collector's item because it has all these great songs on it. And I have some new songs that I think it's going to be great. And then you got new audiences now. A lot of young audiences, all the rappers know me. They think, a lot of them think I'm like a king. So that helps. And you got all these new people. They were teenagers or in elementary school or junior high school when I was pretty popular during the 70s. And now they're grown up now. And they seem to like my music. So I'm hoping that the new album will spread and become a global hit, not just in America. Because you got a lot of Africans that like my music, what they tell me. A lot of, and then London, we go to London and play to 5,000 and 3,000 people and 5,000. And London loves me. And we're going to go back to Japan and do that. And I hope to go to Africa. I've never been. Well, I did go to Morocco. I never went to the other parts of Africa. I went to Spain. We played Spain and we went across and played a concert in Morocco years ago. So I'm hoping that I could take this album and spread the music and spread Norman Connors around the world, not just America.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've been doing that for decades, around the world, because you mentioned so much of the international shows that you've done as being among your best memories. So
yeah, we did a lot of international shows. Used to play Copenhagen and Denmark and Sweden, and we played a lot. I used to catch them trains from one place to the next, and we worked a lot. And I've accumulated a nice array of a nice catalog.
So how do you feel? How do you feel at this point of your career behind the drums? You still are playing, or?
I have another drummer now. I played 40 years straight. I played all 40 years of hard playing, and I went in the studio and made all those records, 30, 30 records, maybe 20 records of other people producing. I was producing another 20 people. I did a lot of work, and that's a lot. I have a big catalog. And so I don't play the drums like I used to. I used to play hard back in the day. I had to play hard playing with people like Pharaoh and John Coltrane and Sam Rivers and the people that I played with. But I don't play like that no more. I I think I can, but I'm not. you know. So
I really admire. I'm sure you know Earl Young from Philly. He's still doing it. He's in his 80s and still,
I like Earl Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We won some awards together uh, in Atlantic City, and I was I missed him because I was in New York. I moved to New York real young. Earl stayed in Philly and did what he did, and played on a lot of R&B records and disco records. And he had that style. He had a nice style, and I like him.
I got to ask you, you're talking about all the people you've produced, and one of those was Angela Bofill, who we just unfortunately lost. So I wanted to ask you if you had any memory to share about her.
Yeah, and Angela used to come to our shows when I had. Actually, she used to come to our shows when I had Gene Carne, and she came out to a lot of our shows when I had Phyllis Hyman, and she was a very good singer herself. So I remember her. She was a nice lady. She had some nice music, and and then when Phyllis died, uh, we went on the road together, and we did 100 concerts in a year. 100.
Hmm.
I used to do 100 and 125 concerts with Phyllis, and 100 concerts with Gene Cohen. I did a lot of working. We worked a lot. So I did 100 concerts with Angie, we call her, and I got to know her very well. She's such a nice lady, and she can sing. I like the way she sings. I like her style, and she passed away not too long ago, last week, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So rest in peace for her. And I just got to mention Aquarium Dream also because those records were really strong and among my favorites too.
Yeah, that's my uh, great keyboard player, Jack Berry. And he was with me for 25, 30 years, maybe 20, 30 years, maybe 28 years. But everything I did, I would always include Jack Berry. He was my right-hand man. So he was my Herbie Hancock and my Bobby Love. He was everything to me then. So, and he had Aquarium Dream, and I loved Aquarium Dream. I put my name on it. I produced them. I produced 2 or 3 albums on Aquarium Dream. They had a sound. I like their sound. And I took Jock. He had split up from them, so he came with me. But yeah, Aquarium Dream. My heart goes out to them.
Mm-hmm. And I'm an Aquarius, so it was a natural fit for me. What is there anything left on your bucket list musically?
Yeah, I'm writing a book. I've been writing a book for the past few years, and I'm gonna try to get it out near the end of this year. I did Unsung, and I'm gonna do something for BET, and then with the book, and then a couple of people had mentioned that they wanted to do a film on me, my life story, not a film.
Mm.
I got 2 sons and a daughter, my oldest son, he's Dr. Connors. I have a young son who I live with right now, and I'm proud of him. I love him. I, I love him, and I love his mother. And they uh, make my son. I'm gonna make sure my son is in the. If they do a movie on me, I'll make sure my son is in that movie with a part. I don't know. They'll probably get some big time person to play me, but my son's gonna be there too, and he's very creative and in art. He has paintings and uh, and he did some musical things. Played piano for not that long. He played alto. He played trumpet about 3 or 4 years, and he was first chair trumpet in high school. So, and he played upright bass, and he played fender bass, and he played drums. So, and he's composing certain. He brings me different things that he composed, and I'm watching him, and he's doing well. And he's a great graphic artist.
Hmm.
So he's still developing and still learning, and he's a very nice guy.
That's the most important thing right there. Which, Norman, looking back, which project or album are you most proud of, and why?
Most proud of my first album, The Dance of Magic. That's one. Then the next one is You're My Starship, because it's still selling and it's in the millions and it's gonna keep selling forever. So I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of the first album I did for Ariston, This Is Your Life.
Those three, that's a trifecta right there.
Those three. And the new one, Royalty. Although I like all my albums, but those are the ones I like the best.
Did you think that Starship was going to be a hit when it was laid down?
I was the only one who knew it was going to be a hit. And we had a hard time to finish it. All kinds of things are going on. And had a hard time. But it finally finished, and I knew we had him. I knew it was going to be big. I knew it. I was the only one knew. I was the only one knew. And I was the only one promoted it everywhere. Every place I went, I promoted Starship. So,
well, congratulations on that, and thank you, Norman, so much for all the fantastic music for all these years. I'm so glad that you're still at it, continuing to do it. So God bless.
Still doing it. I'm still discovering talent. Still discovering. There's a couple of new talent on my new album. But I'm still discovering talent, and I'm still doing concerts, still doing clubs. I'm going to do more TV this year. And like I said, somebody was thinking about they might do a movie on me. So if they do that, that's it. I don't know can't go nowhere else.
Well, we hope to see the book too. So
Get a book.
Yeah. And be looking for you.
There's a lot of things people don't know about me. My tap dancing. I used to be a great dancer. Cha-cha, merengue. I was a great roller skater. I mean, all those kind of things. We used to go Philly. I was a Latin dancer, and we would go up against New York, go to Tito Quinty, wherever he was playing, and Philly was more cooler the way to dance, and New York was more dramatic. So I was really into dancing. That's one of my things.
Did you ever spotlight it on any of your shows?
I played a big concert hall in Philly. dancing. And Lola Falana, who was a best dancer in the troupe, she was there. And then I stopped dancing for certain reasons. But I danced for about 3 years, and it was good for me. Of course, Sammy Davis was my idol, and but the drumming just took me over. Me being a drummer just took me over. Just it was everything in the world to me,
Mm.
and it still is inside.
That's fantastic. And we'll be looking for those shows coming up and hopefully catch you live. And
Yeah.
the record, again, is royalty. It's going to be everywhere in what, 2 weeks
Well,
or
it's
something?
gonna be
Is there a hard copy too, or just downloads, or what?
was that?
Is there going to be a hard copy of that, like a CD, or is it just going to be a download, or what?
Oh no, it's gonna be download. I'm gonna do that too. No, it's gonna be hard copy
Good.
with the with the credits and the photos and
I love that. Good.
my audience likes it.
Oh yeah.
My audience like that. They like
Mhm.
to see the photos and like to read the print.
Yeah, that's doing it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Hey, thank you so much, Norman. It's been a pleasure talking to you, getting to know you better, and I wish you success with the new project and everything you have going on. So take care of yourself, and thank you.
And thank you for the interview. And I want to thank the world for buying my product and supporting me. And I want to thank the new world to buy more of my product. And that's it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also, much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.